The silent observer, the Galactic Council's station Zenith 9, floated in the neutral zone between three major star systems, a massive crystalline structure that caught and refracted starlight into rainbow patterns across its hull. Inside the main assembly hall, representatives from 47 species gathered for the quarterly security briefing. The topic today was one that made several delegates shift uncomfortably in their seats. Humans. Ambassador Krelver of the Tharkani stood at the central podium, his forearms gesturing expressively as he spoke. The Tharkani were known for their cautious nature and meticulous record-keeping, traits that had made them the galaxy's premier historians and analysts. His scaled skin shimmered purple under the station's artificial lights as he addressed the assembly. "Esteemed colleagues," Krelver began, his translator rendering his clicks and whistles into the common tongue. "We have compiled extensive data on human behavioral patterns across 17 sectors. Our findings are concerning." He paused, letting his words sink in. While humans have proven valuable allies in trade and exploration, there exists a subset of their population that defies conventional understanding. The Zelethi representative, a being of pure energy contained within a humanoid-shaped field, flickered with skepticism. "The humans have been nothing but cooperative in our dealings. They are emotional, yes, but hardly threatening to advanced civilizations such as ours." Krelver's neck frills extended slightly, a sign of disagreement among his kind. "That is precisely the misconception I wish to address. You see humans in their diplomatic corps, their traders, their explorers. These humans are selected specifically for their ability to interact peacefully with other species. But there are others. The ones who work in the shadows of your stations, who maintain your ships, who serve in positions you barely notice. Watch. The quiet ones, as the humans themselves say." Several delegates exchanged glances. The phrase was not unfamiliar. Human workers often muttered it when certain individuals passed by. Most had dismissed it as another incomprehensible human idiom, like their obsession with comparing things to food or their tendency to name. Inanimate objects. In the maintenance tunnels 3 levels below the assembly hall, Marcus Chun continued his work replacing power couplings. He had been on Station Zenith 9 for 8 months now, one of only 12 humans among a crew of 3,000. His job was simple, unglamorous, and perfect for someone who preferred to observe rather than be observed. The other species barely noticed him as he moved through the station's corridors. Just another human technician in gray coveralls. Marcus had always been different from other humans. While his colleagues gathered in the recreation areas to socialize and play games that invariably turned competitive, he preferred the quiet hum of the maintenance shafts. He ate alone, worked alone, and kept his quarters Spartan and functional. The other humans had tried to include him at first, but eventually accepted his preference for solitude. They knew what he was, even if the aliens DID'd single quotes T. above him. Krelver continued his presentation. "We have identified 3 categories of human behavior. First, the social humans who form what they call packs or crews. These humans are predictable, operating within established social hierarchies. They respond to authority and can be managed through conventional means." Several delegates nodded. This matched their experience. Second, we have the competitive humans. These individuals constantly seek to prove themselves against others, whether through physical contests, intellectual challenges, or resource accumulation. Again, they are predictable. Their motivations are clear, and their actions can be anticipated. The assembly seemed reassured by this categorization. But the third type, Krelver's voice dropped lower, the solitary humans who avoid both pack behavior and competition, these are the ones that concern us. They watch, they learn, they prepare, and when they act. He let the sentence hang unfinished. As if on cue, an alarm echoed through the maintenance tunnel where Marcus worked. Not a station-wide alert, just a local disturbance notification. Marcus paused, his head tilting slightly as he listened to the pitch and pattern of the alarm. Level 7, Section B, the Vorthen Quarters. His dark eyes, which other humans often described as unnervingly still, focused on something beyond the tunnel walls. The Vorthens were new to the station, a warrior species that had recently joined the Galactic Council after centuries of isolation. They were testing boundaries, seeing how far they could push other species before meeting resistance. Marcus had been watching them for 3 weeks now, noting their patterns, their aggressive body language, the way they moved through crowds. Expecting others to scatter, he set down his tools with deliberate precision and began. Walking toward Section B. In the assembly hall, a junior aide rushed to Krulver's side, whispering urgently. The ambassador's coloration shifted to a darker purple as he addressed the assembly. "I'm informed there is a situation developing in the Vorthen quarters. Perhaps we shall have a demonstration of what I've been discussing." The main view screen activated, showing a corridor where 3 Vorthens had cornered a pair of Rigelian traders. The Rigelians, delicate crystalline beings who communicated through harmonic resonance, were trembling, their bodies chiming in distress. The Vorthens, each standing 3 meters tall with thick carapaces and multiple blade-like appendages, were demanding the traders' cargo manifests, claiming suspicious activity. "Standard Vorthen intimidation tactics," muttered the Zealothy representative. "Security will handle this." But security was 4 minutes away, and the Vorthens were escalating. One raised a bladed arm, not quite striking, but close enough to crack the outer layer of the nearest Rigelian's crystalline skin. The sound it made was like breaking glass, sharp and wrong. Then Marcus Chun walked into frame. He didn't run. He didn't shout. He simply walked with the same measured pace he used when moving through the maintenance tunnels. His hands were empty, hanging loose at his sides. His expression was calm, almost blank. The Vorthens didn't even notice him at first, focused as they were on their victims. Marcus stopped exactly 3 meters from the group, just outside. What humans called the social distance, but well within the personal space that most species found uncomfortable. He said nothing. He simply stood there, watching. One of the Vorthens finally noticed him, compound eyes swiveling to focus on this small, soft, seemingly defenseless human. "Move along, maintenance scum," it growled through its translator. "This doesn't concern you." Marcus didn't move. He didn't speak. He just shifted his weight slightly, a subtle change that moved his center of gravity lower, more stable. His eyes never left the lead, Vorthen's primary visual organs. In the assembly hall, delegates leaned forward. Several species could see into spectrums beyond human visual range, and they noticed something others couldn't. Marcus's heat signature had changed. His core temperature dropped while his extremities warmed, a redistribution of blood flow that happened in microseconds. His heart rate, visible to those with appropriate sensors, had slowed to 40 beats per minute, impossibly low for a human in a stress situation. Asterisk, what is he doing? Asked the Zealothy representative. He's hunting, Krulver said quietly, but not in the way you understand it. The lead Vorthen took a step toward Marcus, trying to use its size advantage to intimidate. Marcus tilted his head exactly 15 degrees to the left, a movement so precise it seemed mechanical. Something about that gesture made the Vorthen pause. It was wrong somehow. Not the fear response it expected, not aggression, but something else entirely. "I said move along," the Vorthen repeated, but there was uncertainty in its voice now. Marcus finally spoke, his voice flat and emotionless. "The Rigelians are under council protection. You will release them." "Or what?" The Vorthen's translator struggled with the clicking laugh that followed. "You'll report us? File a complaint?" "No," Marcus said. He still hadn't moved except for that single head tilt. "I won't report anything." The way he said It made every being in the corridor freeze. There was no threat in his voice, no emotion at all, but something in those words carried a weight that transcended language. The Rigelians had stopped trembling, their attention fixed on this strange human who stood perfectly still while somehow filling the entire corridor with his presence. The Vorthan's secondary arms began to twitch, an involuntary response to a threat its conscious mind couldn't identify. Every instinct in its evolutionary history was screaming danger, but it couldn't understand why. This was just a human, a soft, weak human with no weapons, no armor, no backup. But Marcus had moved again, another subtle shift that placed him between the Vorthans and the exit. He hadn't seemed to move, but somehow he was there, still exactly 3 meters away, but now controlling the space in a way that defied explanation. "You know what we are," the Vorthan said, trying to regain control. "We are apex predators. We have conquered 17 systems. We fear nothing." "I know what you are," Marcus agreed. His pupils had dilated slightly, making his dark eyes appear almost black. "Do you know what I am?" The question hung in the air like a blade. Asterisk. When silence breaks, the standoff in the corridor stretched for 17 seconds, though to those watching it felt like hours. The lead Vorthan's threat display, an impressive fan of razor-sharp appendages that had intimidated countless species, wavered under Marcus's unchanging gaze. Finally, with a sound between a growl and a whimper, the Vorthans backed away from the Rigelians and retreated down the corridor. Marcus waited until they turned the corner before moving. He approached the injured Rigelians with the same measured pace, kneeling beside them. His entire demeanor shifted in an instant, the predatory stillness replaced by gentle concern. "Medical is on the way," he said softly, his voice now warm with human emotion. "You're safe." In the assembly hall, the delegates sat in stunned silence. The Zelathi representative's energy field flickered rapidly, a sign of deep thought. He didn't touch them. He didn't threaten them. He simply existed at them? Krelver's neck frills were fully extended now, his species sign of vindication. "This is what I've been trying to explain. Humans are persistence predators. Their ancestors didn't need to be the fastest or strongest. They just needed to outlast their prey, to be inevitable. Most humans have buried this instinct under layers of civilization, but in some, particularly the quiet ones, it remains pure." "But he protected the Rigelians," argued a Denari delegate, their feathers ruffling in confusion. "That's not predatory behavior, isn't it?" Krelver brought up another file. "Humans are pack animals, but their definition of pack is fluid. Once they decide you're under their protection, they'll face down creatures 10 times their size without hesitation. The question is, how do they decide who belongs to their pack?" Marcus had returned to his maintenance work, but unknown to him, he was now being monitored by dozens of sensors throughout the station. The delegates watched as he went about his routine, noting things they'd never noticed before. The way he always positioned himself, with clear sight lines to exits. How he unconsciously tracked every being that passed him. The subtle tension in his muscles that never quite relaxed. 3 days passed without incident. The Vorthans gave Marcus a wide berth, and word spread among the station's population about the strange human who had faced down 3 warriors without raising a hand. Some dismissed it as exaggeration. Others wondered if humans had some unknown psychic ability. Only the humans knew the truth, and they weren't explaining. On the 4th day, everything changed. The attack came during shift change when the corridors were crowded and security was transitioning. 17 Zelathi separatists materialized throughout the station, their energy forms blazing with hostile intent. They had been planning this for months, using their species' unique ability to exist as pure energy to bypass security systems. Their goal was simple: destroy Station Zenith 9, and with it, the Galactic Council's authority in this sector. The station's alarms screamed to life as explosions rocked multiple sections. Security forces scrambled to respond, but the Zealothi were everywhere and nowhere, shifting between energy and matter at will. In the assembly hall, delegates cowered as two separatists materialized, their forms crackling with deadly power. "The Council's weakness ends today," one announced, raising appendages of pure plasma. "Your cooperation with lesser species has diluted our strength. The galaxy belongs to those with the will to take it." In Maintenance Tunnel 7, Marcus heard the alarms and felt the explosions. He didn't hesitate. He moved, but he wasn't alone. Throughout the station, 11 other humans were moving too. The social ones, the competitive ones, and 3 other quiet ones like Marcus. They didn't communicate, didn't coordinate, but they moved with a synchronized purpose that would have terrified the delegates. If they could have seen it, Marcus emerged from a maintenance hatch directly behind one of the Zealothi in the assembly hall. The being of pure energy turned, confident in its superiority over mere matter-based life. Marcus was already moving, not toward the Zealothi but past it, his hand brushing against a specific panel on the wall. The magnetic containment field generators, standard equipment for dealing with energy-based visitors, activated instantly. The Zealothi's screen was like tearing metal as its form was suddenly compressed, contained, unable to shift or escape. But Marcus was already gone, moving to the next target. Throughout the station, similar scenes played out. The competitive humans turned it into a game, calling out their scores over comes. The social humans worked in teams, covering each other's backs, but it was the quiet ones who were truly terrifying. They seemed to know exactly where to be, when to be there, and what to do. They didn't fight. They simply made fighting impossible. One quiet human, a woman named Sarah, had spent 6 months mapping every power conduit in the station. She knew exactly which ones to overload to create electromagnetic pulses that would disrupt energy beings. Another, David, had memorized every emergency protocol and used them to herd the Zealothi into containment areas. And Marcus moved through it all like a ghost, appearing wherever the threat was greatest, never speaking, never rushing, just inexorably present. The attack lasted 8 minutes. When it ended, all 17 separatists were contained, and not a single delegate had been harmed. Security forces arrived to find the humans already dispersing, returning to their posts as if nothing had happened. Only Marcus remained, standing in the assembly hall, his dark eyes surveying the contained Zealothi with the same flat expression he'd worn days earlier. Ambassador Krulver approached him slowly, respectfully. "How?" he asked simply. Marcus tilted his head, that same precise 15-degree angle. "You were watching us," he said. It wasn't a question. "You wanted to understand what we are." "Yes," Krulver admitted. "We're persistence predators," Marcus said, echoing the ambassador's earlier words. "But you missed something important." He turned to face the assembly, and for the first time, a small smile touched his lips. "We're also persistence protectors. When we decide something is ours to guard, we don't stop. We don't tire. We don't forget." "But how did you know?" "The Zealothi," Representative asked, its form still flickering with shock. "How did you all know exactly what to do?" "Because we watch," Marcus said simply. "The quiet ones, we're always watching. Not because we're waiting to attack, but because we're waiting for someone else to. Every human on this station has been mapping it since they arrived. Every maintenance worker knows every system. Every cook knows every food allergy. Every cleaner knows every hiding spot." He paused. "We can't help it. It's what we are." The delegates exchanged glances, a new understanding dawning. The humans weren't a threat to them. They were a shield they hadn't known they had. "So when you say, 'watch the quiet ones,'" Krulver said slowly, You mean ... We mean be aware of us, Marcus finished. Not because we're dangerous to you, but because we're dangerous for you. The loud humans will be your friends, your drinking companions, your fellow adventurers. But the quiet ones? He shrugged. We'll be the ones who make sure you survive long enough to appreciate them. He turned to leave, then paused at the door. Oh, an ambassador? Your presentation was very thorough, but you missed one category. That small smile returned. The quiet ones, who pretend to be loud, and the loud ones who can become quiet. Those are the ones you really need to watch. As he walked away, returning to his maintenance duties, the assembly sat in contemplative silence. The human phrase had taken on new meaning. Watch the quiet ones indeed. Not with fear, but with gratitude. In the months that followed, the story of Station Zenith 9 spread throughout the galaxy. Species that had viewed humans as either amusing companions or potential threats began to understand them differently. They were chaos and order, sound and silence, fury and patience. They were contradiction made flesh, and perhaps that was their greatest strength. And in the maintenance tunnels, storage bays, and service corridors of 1,000 stations across the galaxy, quiet humans continued their work, watching, waiting, and ready, because that's what Guardians do. They don't announce themselves with fanfare or demand recognition. They simply exist in the spaces between, ensuring that when danger comes, they're already there. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Humans were not to be feared or dismissed, but understood. And understanding began with watching the quiet ones, recognizing them not as predators lying in wait, but as protectors standing vigil. Marcus Chon continued his work on Station Zenith 9 for another 2 years. He never received a commendation, never sought recognition. But every being on that station knew that they were safer because he was there, moving through the maintenance tunnels with measured steps, dark eyes always watching, always ready, because that's what the quiet ones do. They watch, and in watching, they protect. And in a galaxy full of noise and chaos, sometimes the most powerful force is silence with purpose.